Okay, let's talk about intermittent fasting. It is everywhere, right? It's one of the biggest trends in health, but honestly, it can be super confusing. You hear all these wild claims, everything from miracle weight loss to, I don't know, superhuman focus. But what does the actual science say? Well, today, we're going to cut through all that noise to answer one very specific question.
And that's the big one, isn't it? For years, we've all obsessed over calories and macros, the what of eating. But there's this growing idea that when you eat might actually be the real secret sauce. So, is it true?
To figure this out, we have to go beyond his personal stories and dive into some serious research. And look, we're not just looking at any old study here. We are digging into a top-tier clinical trial that was designed specifically to answer this exact question. So we're building this whole explainer on a study from a major journal, JAMA Internal Medicine. It's what's called a randomized clinical trial, which is basically the gold standard for scientific evidence. What that means is we have some real confidence in the results we're about to see. So how in the world do they actually test this? I mean, how do you prove that timing alone makes a difference? Well, the way they set up this 14-week experiment is actually brilliantly simple and really, really clever. First up, the participants. They brought in 90 adults, all of whom had obesity. And it's important to remember, these were real people from all different walks of life, just looking to get healthier. But here's the really crucial detail. Every single person in the study got professional weight loss counseling. This slide right here is the heart of the whole experiment. They split everyone into two groups, and both groups were told to follow the exact same calorie-restricted diet. The only, and I mean the only difference, was the time they were allowed to eat. The first group, the early eaters, had a tight 8-hour window and had to be done eating for the day by 3 p.m. The other group, the control group, ate on a more normal schedule, over 12 or more hours. So same food advice, just different clocks. All right, so you've got two groups on the same diet, but on totally different schedules. The big question is, after 14 weeks, what happened? Did that timing make any difference at all? Let's take a look. And boom, here are the results. The control group, the ones on the standard diet, they lost a very respectable 4 kilograms. But look at the early eating group. They lost an average of 6.3 kilograms. That is a big difference, and it shows that the timing of their meals had a major impact on how much weight they lost. Let's just zero in on that number for a second. Simply by finishing all their food by 3 in the afternoon, that group lost an extra 2.3 kilograms, that's about 5 pounds, compared to the other group eating the exact same diet. It's pretty clear that for weight loss, the timing made a huge difference. So you might be wondering, how did this happen? Was it some kind of metabolic magic? Well, not exactly. The study's analysis suggests that the early eaters ended up consuming about 214 fewer calories per day. It seems that a shorter eating window just naturally made it a little harder to overeat, so the timing itself helped them stick to their diet better. Okay, so more weight loss. That's a clear win. But, not all weight loss is the same. The really big question is, where did that extra weight come from? Was it actually body fat? This is where the story takes a fascinating turn. So when the researchers used these super precise DEXA scans to look specifically at fat loss, the picture got a little more complicated. Now, the early eaters did lose more fat mass, 4.7 kilos versus 3.4, but the gap between the two groups was a lot smaller. So small, in fact, that it wasn't considered statistically significant, a term we'll unpack in just a second. Yeah, this quote right from the study is key. Statistically significant is basically just science speak for being pretty sure that a result isn't just a random fluke. So, in their main analysis, even though it looked like the early eaters lost more fat, the scientists couldn't be 100% certain it was a real effect. Now, it is worth noting that when they looked only at the people who stuck with the study the entire time, the difference was significant. So, it's promising, but we probably need bigger studies to know for sure. But hey, the story doesn't stop with weight and fat. The researchers were measuring a whole bunch of other health markers, and they found some really compelling benefits for the early eating group that went way beyond just the number on the scale. Let's start with blood pressure. The early eaters saw their diastolic blood pressure drop by an extra 4 points. And that's the bottom number, the pressure in your arteries when your heart is resting. The study even says this is a really meaningful improvement, on the same level as what you'd see from proven stuff like the DASH diet or endurance exercise. Pretty cool. And this might be the most surprising part of the whole thing.
the benefits weren't just physical. The people in the early eating group actually reported feeling better. They said they had less fatigue, more energy and vigor, and even felt less depressed. This hints that meal timing might even affect our mental well-being too.
Okay, so we've got more weight loss, some promising signs on fat loss, better blood pressure, and even a better mood. So, what does this all mean for you? Let's boil it all down into one clear final takeaway.
All right, here's what we learned in 3 simple points. First, timing really does seem to matter. Eating earlier in the day helped people lose more weight than just dieting alone. Second, it's not some kind of metabolic magic trick. It seems to work mostly by just helping people naturally eat fewer calories. And third, there are some fantastic bonus perks, like better blood pressure and a boost in your mood.
So, while what you eat is always going to be incredibly important, this study really suggests that when you eat could be a simple, powerful, and effective tool to add to your health toolkit. It kind of leaves us with this big question, doesn't it? Are we entering a new era where timing our meals becomes just as important as choosing what's on our plate?